Morning world, it's about 11:30 in the morning on Sunday the 26th of May UK time 2019. As we speak, both Saturn and Pluto are now going retrograde in Capricorn. They're both conjunct still to each other, separating, but still 2.5 degrees apart, slowly separating. Later in the year, they'll both stand still and start moving forward again, and then the actual Saturn-Pluto conjunction will be in early January next year, which is going to be a very momentous and significant time for everyone. Okay. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction started earlier this year and will run through to October of next year in terms of approximation. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction is about bringing new structure and new boundaries into the way we transform our ideas of government. Pluto in Capricorn is transforming attitudes, beliefs of government and the way we govern ourselves, whether it be through our job, work, career, relationships or the political systems. And Saturn at the moment is making it very, very clear to us all what isn't working anymore. Old systems, old structures and boundaries around government and corporate procedures are now being seen as irrelevant and unworking for the 21st century. Next year, when Jupiter is in Capricorn, conjunct Pluto and to a lesser extent Saturn, then we'll see new systems coming in. But now Saturn's there first of all with Pluto, so it's restructuring, transforming and eliminating and purging the old in readiness for Jupiter to come in and bring the new in so that it doesn't have to negotiate old baggage. Okay, so that's the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. At this time, now, late May, over the last 4 to 6 weeks, 8 weeks, now for the coming 2, 3, 4 weeks, there's a mathematically worked out point in the sky called the North Node, which most astrologers look at and mumble something about karma or reincarnation, which to me is nonsense. To me, the North Node deals with mission statement, purpose, why you volunteered to come to planet Earth in the first place, what your mission on planet Earth is at this time. As I speak, the North Node is in Cancer, South Node in Capricorn. The North Node is opposite the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. The South Node is conjunct the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. So the chances of Saturn and Pluto being conjunct in the sky happens on average about every 32, 33 years. It's not cyclical because Pluto's orbit is variable. But on average, over a span of, say, 1,000 years, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction will happen somewhere between every 32 to 35 years. But for the Saturn-Pluto conjunction to also be opposite the North Node, you have to put at least a 0 or 2 zeros on the end of those figures. So this is something which is only going to happen on average somewhere around every 2,000 to 3,000 years. Now, I'm sure there's been times in history where the Saturn-Pluto conjunction has opposed the North Node, and there may be one or two technologically adept geeks out there who will actually come back with the dates that this last happened. I can't be bothered to look it back, but it's got to be at least 800, 900, 1,000 years since this last happened. So the question is, what does it mean? Now, I look at what's happened in the world recently, and by recently I do mean just in the last 2 or 3 months. We've seen a very right-wing government elected in Brazil. We've seen the right-wing government surprisingly hang on to power and become even stronger in Australia. We've seen a very right-wing nationalist government elected in India. We've seen a comedian elected in Ukraine. We've seen the collapse of the right-wing Austrian government. We've seen the dichotomy between the left and the right in America grow ever worse, and America is now fractured and fragmented. And we've seen the collapse of politics in Britain. No one trusts politicians anymore. They're seen as self-serving and uncaring, regardless of which political party. So it seems to me, from my perspective, and I watch the news every day from a number of different channels, all the way from CNN and ABC and Fox through to Al Jazeera, BBC and Russia Today. I do my best to get as broad a perspective as possible. It seems to me that the world is taking a lurch to the right, with an element of the ridiculous and macabre around it as well, I'm pleased to say. The thing is, at this time, from an astrological perspective, the decisions that are being taken collectively will have very long-term ramifications. And one thing I have learned over the years is that through watching large-scale transits and the resulting swings to extremism, whether of left or right, whether of religious attitudes or atheistic attitudes, whether of fanaticism or centrism, is that whenever humankind gets too out of balance, too out of kilter towards one way or another, it then tends to go right to the extreme before a sudden reversal, and everything comes back to the centre. So the more we're swinging collectively towards the right now, the more the reversal will come towards the left. And I kind of know when this is going to be. It's going to be when Saturn and Neptune conjunct each other at 0 degrees of Aries in about 5 or 6 years' time. But more on that one another time. This is also going to be impacting big time on certain individuals. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction opposite the node is affecting big time those people born from perhaps the 10th to the 12th, let's cover myself and say the 10th to the 13th of January, April, July and October. And if you're one of these people, then you're seriously going to be aware of the major changes that are happening in your life, and the fact that the decisions that you're being asked to take now for yourself, not for others, but for yourself, are going to impact big time for the very long-term future. So choose wisely, folks. But from a collective perspective and from a global perspective, the world is currently lurching towards the right. And yet the right is becoming more and more fractured. When we say right wing, do we mean the right wing politics of England and the conservative little England, the little Hitlers, who just want England to be an isolated country and for the elite to have the money? Do we mean the right wing of America, where the American oligarchs, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer? Do we mean the right wing of the rise of Nazism in certain countries in Eastern Europe? Do we mean the right wing of the kind of gangster, almost fascist mentality of Russia? And bearing in mind that all of these factions seem to be disagreeing with each other and vying with each other to become ever more, crazily enough, capitalist, making more and more money, out trying to defeat everyone else by extra tariffs or extra charges or extra border controls. This is leading to a level of extremism which isn't fundamentalism and isn't terrorist related. It's more global extremism perpetrated by governments who think that the only way they can contain and control their supremacy is by imposing ever more draconic structures, boundaries, laws, rules and regulations. And this is going to lead to a massive bite back. And there will come a time, at the latest in 6 years' time, at the latest, where the world will suddenly swing big time to the left. and a more globalistic attitude will prevail. I don't consider myself right wing. I don't actually consider myself left wing. I know a number of you think that I'm a left wing loony. I'm not. I'm ever so slightly left of centre, with a green environmentalist agenda. I want the planet to stay stable and sane. But it does seem as if we're heading into this year at least, and in this next few weeks, ever more extreme posturing and self-promotion, self-aggrandizement. This is not a particularly auspicious time for humanity, and any benevolent supreme being or ET or alien species that's looking at planet Earth at the moment is going, don't go there. They really don't know what they're doing. They're out of control. Let them sort it out and then we'll negotiate. There is hope. Next year Jupiter moves into Capricorn, and I suggest that's going to act as a brake on the more extreme elements of nationalism and corporate greed. And I would hope that from November, December of this year onwards, when Jupiter moves into Capricorn, we're going to see a rain check and a balance being brought on to some of the extremist attitudes that seem to be dominating in the world now. But at the moment, we're collectively in a bit of a mess, I'm sorry to say, because normally I try and balance things out, but I'm finding it difficult to see a lot of good in the world at the moment. Meantime, in my country, yes, the Prime Minister's resigned. All the nut jobs are saying, vote for me, I want to be the next Prime Minister. No one's got any answers to what we're going to do. Oh, and Donald's coming to town next week. He's going to visit the Queen for lunch. And he's bringing his brood with him. That should be interesting. The baby blimp will repeat itself. So I shall go and see if I can get myself an invite. I shall go and ask if I can talk to him and ask you to do everything according to the letter of the law, as one might expect. I will not do anything illegal. Okay. On that note, I shall catch you later, and I shall continue with my Pluto aspects as of tomorrow. But this is my Sunday sermon saying that at the moment we're in a bit of a mess. And the best thing we can do, I think, to alleviate the situation is to hold ourselves accountable for the way we think, the way we vote, the way we talk, the way we behave, especially towards each other. And as always, smile. Because if you smile at someone, most of them smile back, and then the world's a better place. Simplistic, naive, I know, but it does work. Catch you later, world. Bye.